Today's episode comes to you thanks to our sponsor, Kangen Water. Electrolyte-reduced water is the power of true hydration, manifested in the most advanced Japanese technology that has been in the market for more than 50 years. To drink the best water, shower with a hot spring quality water, and start a new business with the most amazing and profitable compensation plan in the world, visit thelivingwatercouple.com to learn more or get started today.
Welcome to a brand new experience with innovative voices from all over the world. I would like to invite you all to something that is magical, something that is powerful, and something that is from my heart. This is the Devon Taylor Podcast. Hello all, and welcome to another episode of the Devon Taylor Podcast. Today's guest is an amazing romantic suspense author from California. She is here to tell her story of how she became a published author. Please welcome Lauren Schultz. Hi.
There. Thanks so much again for having me. Awesome.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for you being here. And honestly, we met at an author's event and, kind of just exchanged informations. And I was just so intrigued by how much you've written and just the type of stories you're writing. And I'm currently reading your first book, I believe, which is The Last Consort, Escape. So I'm still in it. So I haven't finished it, but I'm reading it. And I really want people to just get to know you. So my first question is, how did you know you were a writer and who is your inspiration?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. So best way to answer that, I don't know if I really knew I was let's say author. I enjoyed writing, and the first thing I enjoyed reading. So I was an avid reader since a child. So I was in the libraries and stacking up books, and then I finished when I was in high school. I tell this story all the time. I finished a whole entire shelf of books in the library and realized, I have nothing else to read. So I would do this I would read. And then I started to want to just write some things because I enjoyed reading so much. I wanted to explore with that. So I would journal entries and just writing. And then I would start to do kind of okay, well, let's write this. Let's write let's describe this and let's do this. So I started to get a little bit more and more involved with writing. And then I'm like, I really kind of like doing this. So that all started probably when I was maybe in my teens or so, but I never really thought to move forward and put together, let's say, an actual book or novel. Or short story even. I never even thought that until when I finally looked at what I had been doing, and I finally realized I'm writing a book. I think I should put this together. This is an actual book. And that didn't come until probably my mid-20s and things. And at that time, I had actually sat down with theater and was working with, I was doing plays and whatnot. And I was asked to help write a script. So I was writing scripts and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm writing a book. So I proudly said that. So that was a while back. I think, yes, I am going to be an author. I'm going to write a book. And that was all part of the experience of just trying to figure it out. So that's the weirdest situation, but I was figuring myself out when I was doing it. I'm not that kind of person who just said, oh yeah, that's what I'm just no, it was a process, which was really fun. So I finally did that and started to structure and write a novel. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today, in a sense. So yeah.
I love that. And did you have anyone that you were looking up to when you started writing?
So let's say, personally, I had a theater mentor who I did look up to, who's passed away. His name was Peter Van, and he was an excellent source for just a wise package of anything. So I did honestly look up to him. I do greatly miss him. But when it comes to writing itself, I really looked at the authors that I read, and I enjoyed one of my most memorable authors to this day would be Octavia Butler, and I looked to
Ooh,
her as a source. Like, oh, this is. I think I want to write like her. I think so she
ooh.
was really a model. I would say an overall big author influence. I'll say, and then of course there's every other author who you really enjoy reading. I read all of the Anne of Green Gables series, and so and I loved that one as a teenager or as a child in my teens. So that was always an influence. But Octavia Butler was really a pivotal author, I would say, in terms of how I wanted to kind of steer my writing.
She definitely does have a very unique style. And I love that when we were connecting, that was the book that you sent to me because I started reading it and it was so intriguing. So, I've never heard of her before that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to look her up in all of her books.
Uh-huh.
What got me hooked. But I also love that you mentioned about mentors and how crucial they can be to just our experience as children and growing up and just kind of cultivating who we're going to become as adults.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that definitely touches my heart. So then next question is, what led you to the specific writing style? How did you become, what called you to suspense, romantic, that genre?
Oh, good, good, good. Okay, so one genre that I personally enjoy reading is suspense and thriller. I happened upon just certain series that I really just loved to read. And since that was something I really enjoyed reading personally, I figured this is something that if I like it so much, I can most likely feel compelled to write in this genre. I'm not a fantasy reader at all. I am a Star Trek lover, but I'm not a sci-fi reader, which is weird. So I don't think Star Trek is really sci-fi in a way. Sometimes it's a little bit something different. But
Yeah.
With that, I don't. So those are not my genres. So and then when I was also developing character, the characters were moving in the direction of a suspense thriller um, positioning. We'll say. So it's like this is not this is a suspense thriller, and again, this is something I already read, so let's go for it. So that's really where I landed that in that direction.
With your suspense thrillers, are you starting with your character development first, and then that's how you're creating your books?
Absolutely, absolutely,
Mm, I
absolutely.
love that.
I always I one thing I in my current work in progress, I had to stop because I didn't know my character, and I realized like, oh, this is not your process. Your process is to start with the characters. So
Mm,
the series that I did complete. Um, all of the characters, well, all of the main characters that you would be reading about, they all have a, a huge development in terms of their character development. From I pretty much know the characters enough to say I know when they were born, and as an author, I would know when they would die. So that's pretty much how those two main characters, your main characters in the story, how I structure them to be. So yeah, it's definitely the character development.
I love that. Yeah, no, and and everyone has their own writing style, and really why I wanted you here is because not only have you written one, you've written multiple books, and like they're not small books, and that's a big feat. So, what advice can you give to anyone that's maybe struggling to even write their first book? Because I know that was hard for me.
Gosh, yes. Anybody who is saying at the very beginning stages when they realize, I think I have a book in me. For that person, I think it really just starts with if you can think about if there is a why for you, why is that book in you? It probably is something. Maybe it's something that personally is there. Maybe it's just an idea because lots of authors get like they get characters kind of stuck in their head. It's like, oh, I really like this and I really want to write it down, or I really, that it's something that they just can't get out of their head. If that's the case, yeah, you have a book in you, and you should go ahead and
Mm,
progress with it. So I would suggest really, if you can, try to at least start with a structure. And not every writer is a plotter. Some people are pantsers. If people
mm,
don't know what that is, then a plotter, somebody who is like using structure, all the you structure everything out. You're probably doing some kind of methodology, whether it be like the hero's journey or the save the cat method, something like that. or you are actually just pacing it out, finding yourself as you write. I am a combination, but mostly a plotter. So
Mm-hmm.
you would figure out, okay, I have an idea, so let me try to flesh out something as to what this idea might possibly be. And you
Right.
could probably just use some structuring, maybe like maybe an outline. And if that doesn't work for you, sometimes you can even just, I would suggest maybe like write just free write. This is what I want. This is overall what the
Mm-hmm.
story might be, and this is what. But these are all like really before you even start writing. So these are just like how let's flesh it out. So you have to flesh things out before you can actually sit and start doing the whole crap. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
not just building like maybe like just a free write, then you can. I read different ideas where you could probably have like a make a character and have them come off of a bus.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this person? Tell me who this person is. Okay, what are they wearing? What are they doing? And so you can probably just start with maybe your characters. Okay, so maybe I want a man, I want a small child, I want, so whatever these people are, you can come up with the characters and maybe start talking about who they might be and start writing that out. And this is again, this is for fiction, not for a nonfiction kind of work, but for fiction, these are just how ideas for somebody who might be wanting to start out. And then also give yourself time. So I would schedule time writing, or schedule
Mm-hmm.
this process and just schedule it whenever you can do it. And also don't beat yourself up if you don't get there. So that's another thing that those are some suggestions. If they're loose things, to just start. Now, if you have like an actual idea and you're writing, you're in the middle of it, then by means you do need to have that structured time and try definitely again to hit that structured time. And again, if you don't get it, don't beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up. Just go back and try it again. And but
Mm-hmm.
if you are writing, you should try to write if you can at least every day. If you can, you have a writer is somebody who writes. You gotta write. You can't just keep it in your head saying, I have an idea, I have an idea. It's like you gotta write, you gotta write. And then the other thing with that too is for those of you who are probably in the middle or like on your like maybe you're halfway through or maybe you're almost done and you're starting to stop and panic because it's not perfect. The other thing is no book ever will be perfect. And when you're writing the first book, forgive yourself. It's not going to be your best. And don't ever edit during you're doing it. Just write it. Write it,
Mm-hmm.
get it done. And then once you write and get it done, you go back and you edit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have those conversations there, but just finish it. So those are all different stages that I gave you. But so but
I
that's
love it.
overall, that's what I would let somebody know. So
No, that's perfect. And a lot of the things that you were saying, like even planning time for yourself to write, that's something that I had to do in order to finish, my first book. And just giving yourself grace and understanding that it's all a process and, it's not going to be perfect the first time around. That's such great advice. Thank you so much. So to ask, what is your why? Like, what do you want people to get out of your books and when they're reading them and, when they finish it, when they're closing it and, self-reflecting after?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. One thing I would want someone to feel a connection. I would want you to feel a connection. So,
Hey guys, it's Icarus here,
And Amelia!
and I'm here to tell you if you'd like to join our brand new adventure. Go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com to learn more.
And check out the cool items like the new bucket hat.
Yeah, and so much more. See you guys there.
the way I write, I do wish to have very strong, engaging characters. So, I would want to have people to have an emotional connection when they are there. My overall goal as a writer, I do want to produce an experience for a reader where they can actually escape in reading because I love to do that personally. It's that escapism in reading and have the ability to use one's imagination and be taken on these different journeys that only occur when you're in the reading process. And that's all part of what I, as an author, wish for my readers to experience. So, because again, I love getting lost in a book. Yes.
So recreating that experience for everyone is the goal. I love that. What has been your most memorable experience since you've published your first book?
Oh boy, there have been a lot of memorable experiences. I like to share this story. This is one story I like to share a lot. So one thing I can't get out of my head is, as a writer, things that happen as a writer that only happen to writers, will say, because it's like, and you go, oh, that was weird. It's like, so you have these experiences when you're writing, these experiences when you are creating characters, where sometimes you as the writer are the smart one. You're supposed to tell these people what to do. They're coming out of your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's some instances where characters will go ahead and decide to tell you that you are actually not that smart and you were wrong. So I had an incident where I tried to have a character. I really did have a character where I developed them to be the actual, I don't like to say the, what we'll call the, your antagonist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that person ended up not being the antagonist at all, because when I was writing them, it wasn't happening. And in a way, it was like the character saying, okay, this is not what I want to do here. So I had to restructure and create another role for that particular person, which was, they stayed as a character, but their role looked a lot different, because I had to change that up when I realized that we're not working. And that's a very weird writer thing, when lots of writers do experience it. But that, I think, was a very interesting thing to actually experience when I was in the process. So
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. Do you base any of your characters on like your real life experiences? Are these all just like coming to you from dreams maybe, or like, thoughts, or just like your imagination? Like, how are you forming your characters?
for my series, a lot of the characters are totally from my imagination. So
Wow.
I imagined them, and I created other characters based on them for what their personal need would be, or how to see if they could move and shift in the storyline. So I don't know any of the people I wrote at all. Now, so I don't personally. So, but those are all, again, they're all imaginative folks who are designed specifically for every character that's there. So that's
Yeah.
how I came up with them.
That's beautiful. And that's I think that's a part of the whole magic of writing, is that we have the autonomy to really just create what we want. And really why I wanted you here is so that people can hear that. It's like, it's coming from you. A lot of this is within us, and we just have to find that way of unlocking it and bringing it forth. So through your journey of writing and publishing books, what do you feel like unlocked that moment where it might have changed from not knowing necessarily that you wanted to be an author, but that you were actually going to go forth and publish?
Yeah, I had that scary moment where it's like, ooh, I can't just keep writing this.
I know that.
It has to end.
Yes.
And it has to have, we should be brave enough to share it with people, because otherwise it's just going to be sitting here. So that happened. I am a person who does a lot of free writing and notebooks and whatnot. So I when I was working with I'll say the first book in the series, that was really in a lot of handwriting, and then I transposed it over to my to like the digital world and all that other stuff. So when I was putting that in that format, first of all, I realized you have a series here. It's not one book, so you're going to slow it down. And this is a series, and that didn't come until before the pandemic, we'll say, when I like, this is going to be broken up into a series. And then finally, when I wrote, it's not really the end because it's a series, but once I got close to the end of the first book, the way before it was even edited, I realized, okay, no, we'll go ahead and we're going to try to publish this. This will be published. So I finally did that in 2020, of course, while everybody was locked inside. So yeah, so that was about this little a late journey, we'll say, but I did finally realize that I just had to close my eyes and say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we'll be official. We're gonna do this. So
I love that.
mm-hmm.
Was anything, because I know a lot of people found themselves during the pandemic. Like I, for sure, was on a whole different creative path. I think I was doing my other podcast when I had first started that. And that was something that was kind of fueling my creativeness at the time. But like, I feel like a lot of people in their stories found themselves during the pandemic. Do you feel like anything about the pandemic helped bring that forward, or?
I had actually been completing that storyline before. So nothing from the pandemic itself, let's say, was steered towards storyline, towards a storyline, but it was something that impacted, I'll say, any kind of marketing ideas, because you were now looking at, okay, since this is now people are, I guess, let's say I was hearing and understanding a lot of people were saying, oh, people don't read anymore. It's like, oh, okay. And then so here we have this pandemic, and now all of a sudden everybody's reading because you can't do anything else. So it was like, oh, well, this is my chance. So, it's like, okay, that's where I saw it impact me in a way, but not writing wise. And also what's funny is the storyline that I was writing with the series that I have, it does involve a virus.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, it does. But it's like, I don't know. It's not actually tied into the pandemic in any kind of way. Yeah,
that's so interesting. And that's just part of like how it happens too. It's just like the synchronicities of it all.
Absolutely.
So to just explain, like, because I worked with a hybrid publisher, and that's how I got my book out. Can you just explain for anyone that's listening, how was your process? What did you go, like, how did you become a published author? What was your way of releasing your first book?
Oh, sure. Now, a lot of mine was self-learning, which is a lot of what people do, a lot of it. I honestly, before my series writing, I was a person who was delving into children's literature. So I did have a number of children's literature manuscripts that I had submitted but had not been successfully published. So I was not able to find publishing through that manner. So I have them now. My children's literature is kind of sitting on the side, and it would have to be because they were like, now it's been gosh knows how long ago. But so with that said, I learned a lot during my processing and tried to figure out as best as I personally could what the process was. So from the copywriting, the formatting, all that stuff, I personally had in my own wheelhouse there. And since I was able to learn and do whatever I could, I did a lot of, again, self-learning and trying to find any kind of information that was viable and useful. And I used that to launch the first book. So my first book was launched as a self-published writer. So I did the whole, how do I go onto Amazon? How do I do? So I did all of that as a self-published person. And I did have a team for editing and things like that, but I had to find those sources. I don't have them in my back pocket.
Yeah. And I know it can be like, for me, it was super daunting to even start the process and to find the right team, like you were saying, to just help, with that journey. Can you give any advice to anyone that may be like scared of that, like the whole overall, shebang, and just the idea of writing a book and publishing it?
It's okay to be scared because it's scary. I guess that's one thing I can say. Don't like say, oh, why am I scared? Yeah, it's okay. Lots of us have like hesitancies in it. And honestly, there's a lot of information. We are in we have a time where we have information that's everywhere and not all of it's good.
Yeah.
So I would honestly say if you can vet your resources, and just because it's a shiny object don't go after the shiny object. That's really what I would. Shiny object syndrome in this industry is really not helpful. So
Yeah.
you really should have, if you have a good resource, that's definitely helpful. I would suggest to stick with that resource. And if you can build community, definitely build community. It's very important to do so because it's hard to do it in a little box and by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been, and this is just like, I'm just thinking like what could be really useful for everyone, because like you said, you self-published your first book, and huge feat. So like, congrats to you. That is amazing. And like I said, it could be a daunting process for a lot of people to even start, and you did it. So what could probably be one of the things that you feel like people should know about publishing a book just in general, or something people should, like what's something that wasn't as, I guess, like not a negative aspect of it, but like probably the opposite of what you thought would, be the case when you began writing and, going for publishing? Like what was not enjoyable about that?
Ooh. When you're doing it yourself, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's okay to do it by yourself, but if you don't have to, if you can pay for a resource that's a good resource, pay for that resource. That's a suggestion I would definitely say, because I formatted and I paid for formatting. Then there was an error and I had to go back and format myself. And when I did all that, it's like, this is terrible. So it's just like a lot of stuff that use your resources, and it's okay to. And the other thing with that, some things are expensive too. So if it's something that you can't afford, it's worth just saving maybe until you can actually go ahead and afford it. Something like that. It's just because, again, it's just the amount of work. It's your time is valuable as well. So that's what I would suggest. Definitely use resources and just save if you need to. But at the same time, with all that, don't give up with it either. Because if it's something where you're waiting for, or it's like, oh, I have to wait. Don't set expectations, and do not by any means just put it in a drawer and forget about it because it's just not happening. So please don't do that. I don't want you to do that ever. But but use the resources if you do have them.
I love that. And I have one more question before I want, to just kind of you to give your handles, and for anyone that wants to find you and follow you. You're following your dream, you're doing what you want to do. What can you say that can help anyone? And I know this is just like, for me personally, I feel like everyone has a book in them, and it's just about unlocking that. What can you say that can help inspire the next author that may be listening to this podcast right now to bring that book forward?
Oh gosh. Believe in you. Definitely. That's, if nobody else does, you have to believe in you. You have to love yourself. You have to believe in you, and you have to believe that if that little voice inside of you says, I want to write this, it's doing it for a reason. And listen to that little voice and just believe that you can. And if it's something, say you're not a writer, right? Maybe you're not. Some people, I think, if that's not, then use a team, or you can have somebody else to help to tell that story with ghostwriting. Or I'm not going to stand here and say use any kind of AI to write books. I'm not for that. But
that's the thing, yeah.
But I would honestly say, fine, you can use ghostwriting, you can use resources such as that, but don't let it just sit there. And I remember this. I was taking a walk in this, and I don't know why this random lady was like, we just got into a conversation. She goes, "Oh, I have a wonderful idea for a book." And I go, "Well, have you started to write it?" She goes, "No, I can't write." I go, "Well, why not? Why haven't you or at least talk to somebody have a conversation. You should write that book. You should write it or have it be written. You should write it. She goes, oh, well, thank you, brother. I go, yeah. So yes, please do not give up. Believe in yourself, and you can do it. Definitely. It can be done. And maybe it's not the time, let's say but there's always, if there's something there, eventually it's meant for you.
I love that. And I love that you said specifically to believing in yourself, because there are a lot of people that don't have that support system where they can lean on and, like I have a great support system, and I feel like that was a big part of why I was able to write, but also that inner voice inside of me was the reason why I would set those times and stay to those times, like you were saying earlier. So that is such a great point, because not everyone has that external support. So you do have to sometimes kind of look within. So I'm so thankful for you being here. I'm so grateful. I know everyone is going to love this episode. For anyone that is looking to write a book, you are going to find inspiration with this episode. But before we leave, Lauren, where can everyone find you? Where can they follow you? What are your links, your socials? Give us it all.
Oh, so you can stop by my website. Of course, that's laurenschultzauthor.com. On that site, you have blog posts and book samples. And if you stop off at my website as well, you can download a free short story to see if you like my style. And that short story is also linked to the series if you have an interest in moving forward. Also, all of my, I'm here on where am I? I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. And my handle would be at Lauren Schultz Author for those channels. And there is an official The Last Consort series IG. So it's The Last Consort series official. That's the handle for that particular book series.
I love it. Thank you. And we're going to leave all of her links in the show notes. So if anyone wants to follow, get that free book, please do. Once again, thank you, Lauren. I am so grateful for you being here. You're more than welcome to come back anytime if you want to. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you, Lauren. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.
This is Nimram speaking to you, and I command you to go to DevonTaylorAuthor.com right now. You must check the specials. Listen to me. You must check the specials now.